Taiwan's legislature has a reputation for heated debate and even physical fights between members. But 10 years ago today, it saw its biggest uproar ever, led not by lawmakers, but angry students. On the evening of March 18, 2014, lawmakers gathered to ratify a controversial trade pact with China. China claims Taiwan, and the opposition said opening Taiwan's service sector would give China another tool to threaten Taiwan's democratic system. Still, the ruling Kuomintang pushed the trade deal through after a review that lasted just 30 seconds. Before long, hundreds of protesters had gathered outside the legislature, angry both at the pact itself and the way in which it was forced through. Li Junda recalls what happened next.
不知道为什么就有一个梯子，然后我们就从梯子翻过围墙，没有什么警察，然后很多人就陆陆续续就冲进去、穿进去这样子。
Thus began an occupation of the legislature that would last more than 3 weeks. Students barricaded themselves inside, repulsing efforts by the police to get them out by force. Some would later try and fail to occupy the cabinet building too. They adopted as their symbol the sunflower, a flower that always turns away from dark toward the sunlight. Though they number just a few hundred, many more soon took to the streets outside in solidarity. A March 30th rally brought out more than 100,000 protesters.
那今天政府透过这样子的手法，30秒短短的30秒内通过这么重大的议题，我们实在是没有办法接受，因为这个攸关于全民的非常大的协议，是应该要好好坐下来讨论，听听人民的声音。
我们绑在头上的就是捍卫民主，退回服贸。 然后我认为最重要就是台湾是一个民主国家，那么现在重要是它的民主已经是受到破坏，所以造成了这些学生讲的所谓的宪政危机。
Inside the legislature, protesters drew up a list of demands. Chief among them, a fresh review of the trade pact and new rules to govern future agreements with China. In the end, they won. The government agreed to draft the rules before the pact was reviewed again. The students left the legislature on April 10th, ending a standoff unlike anything else in Taiwan's history. The agreement with China remains unratified. 10 years on, there are different ways of looking at the sunflower student movement. Supporters of the government at the time say the protests ultimately failed.
第一个，检讨黑箱，民进党执政黑箱更多啊。当时台湾的服务业很有优势，结果现在呢，中国大陆的服务业全部起来了。 我们本来可以到大陆去，我们的服务业进军大陆去，赢得更多的市场，就现在也没了。
Others, including scholars who've studied the movement, say it forced Taiwan to reconsider its ties with China, with consequences Taiwan is still feeling today.
I think sunflower movement actually initiated a trend and a reflection that are we going to go down with one China principle in economy? Or we are going to choose the alternative, and I think that legacy still stays.
It may still be too early to properly assess the sunflower student movement. That's because the trade pact has never been formally abandoned. There have even been recent calls to revive it. After a decade, the big questions the movement raised, of how close Taiwan should get to China and of when direct action might be justified, are far from answered. James Lin and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.